And we are here with the first proper video of the new season. Yes, I know this is episode 2. I apologize again for my previous few uploads just being freeform podcasts. I've been in an insanely busy stretch filled with quite a bit of travel, so some of this season's videos may just end up being in that easier to record and edit format. While I did have a number of serious issues with the season premiere, I found this episode to be absolutely fantastic, and one of, if not the best of the entire show thus far. Even without the rest of the season, it would be a crime if this episode alone doesn't secure Emma Darcy and Emmy. Their performance in the wake of Jace's death, and the mental state they conveyed through the rest of the episode, showcased some of the best acting I've ever seen. Speaking of Jace's death, we see that one of the unwillingly culpable parties, Reyna, fled back to the Vale in an attempt to get shelter and protection from Jane Eyre. If you recall back to last season, Jane was housing Reyna, as well as Rhaenyra's two youngest children, Aegon the Younger and Viserys, at her castle, the Eyrie. This was in exchange for direct protection against the Green faction via Rhaenyra stationing a dragon at the castle. However, Jane felt cheated when Rhaenyra only sent baby dragons. So now, we see Reyna use that slight as leverage, promising protection from her newly acquired dragon Sheepstealer in exchange for Jane looking the other way to her presence in the Vale. Promising this protection is an incredibly bold move from Reyna, given that just last episode, we saw that she had very little control over the dragon. Honestly, the scene radiates with forced writing contrivances, the show writers having to create new logic and scenarios from scratch to make their removal of the book character Nettles from the story make sense. For more on the character Nettles and her removal from the show, I encourage you to listen to my last 2 podcast uploads. Moving over to Rhaena's father in the Riverlands, we see Daemon celebrating with a gaggle of Black faction loyalists, comprised of leaders of Riverland houses and the head of the Stark army. Through amazing drunken singing, we learn that their combined forces successfully defeated the Lannister army in a battle now known as Fishfeed. I'm surprised they chose to have this battle off screen, as it's a key event from the book, but I understand the need for significant cuts, given just how much they have to pack into this already cramped season. The celebratory song also showed us that the Riverlords, who just last season were only reluctant allies of Daemon in order to support Rhaenyra, have actually grown to love him and see him as a friend. Though clearly not all of his arrogance and evil is gone, his visions last season changed him, setting him down the path of becoming a better person worthy of friendship and respect. The Jaime Lannister parallels are growing ever stronger. Daemon's celebration, however, is interrupted by the arrival of Simon Strong, who comes bearing both gifts and a letter from Rhaenyra. The letter informs Daemon of both Jace's death and Rhaenyra's intention to take King's Landing as soon as possible. Showing us yet again that he's now fully loyal to Rhaenyra, Daemon immediately announces his intention to depart with his dragon to support her. He orders the leaders of the Riverland and Stark forces to start making their way toward King's Landing on foot to meet him. Before departing the Riverlands completely, Daemon speaks with Alys Rivers one last time to express his gratitude for both assisting him in his rallying of the Riverlords and for changing his perspective on life. She then reveals the motivation for her aid. She wants Harrenhal for herself. Seeing the cursed magical castle pass from lord to lord, all of whom could not keep it, and did not understand the breadth of magical forces at play in its halls and the nearby forests, she feels it would be best in her hands. Daemon, still not over his Targaryen and nobility superiority complex, essentially rejects her plea, infuriating Alys. How a witch with clear magical ability will react to this slight, we'll just have to wait and see. When Daemon arrives back at Dragonstone, he's greeted by Ulf and Hugh. Though justifiably appalled at their such easy abandonment of their mission for Rhaenyra, he goes overboard, treating them subhumanly seemingly for not being pure-blooded Targaryens. Though Daemon is starting to become a better person, he clearly has quite a lot of work to do. Ulf and Hugh's warning about the weird magic they encounter while stationed at the God's Eye seems to strike a chord with Daemon, who knows full well of Alys Rivers' machinations there. After a tense conversation with Mysaria, his former lover and Rhaenyra's current, Daemon joins the broken, mournful Rhaenyra in her chambers. During their conversation, they further discuss the circumstances behind Jace's death. Though they realize the mysterious dragon was the wild dragon Sheepstealer, they don't yet know that Rhaena was the rider, rather assuming that a member of the Green faction bonded with him. I mean, that's the most logical explanation for how much damage it did to their own forces. Daemon then informs her that Aemond has left King's Landing with Vhagar. In other words, they have to strike the city now, or they'll lose their perfect window of opportunity forever. Despite her immensely fragile emotional state, she has to go immediately. To motivate her, speaking in High Valyrian, he reveals to her his touch with magic and prophecy, explaining that he now understands the Song of Ice and Fire that Viserys shared with her, and that, in order for Daenerys to exist in the future, he has to help Rhaenyra take the throne now. I feel here's a better place than ever to quickly discuss the on-the-ground aftermath of the Gullet battle that was sprinkled throughout the episode up until this point. Between Alan searching on foot and Adam searching on Dragonback, with the help of Baela, they finally locate Corlys, who survived the battle. Since we now know that he survived falling into the sea with a full set of armor on, another character who also did may yet still have a chance as well. It was nice to see Baela and Alan having a heartfelt conversation during their search, getting to know each other and starting to form a connection. Upon his reunion with his father Corlys, Alan finally gets the recognition he's been looking for, being legitimized as a true member of House Velaryon. Though not explicitly said, I would assume the same applies to his brother Adam as well. Otherwise, that could lead to a very uncomfortable dynamic between the two brothers. Moving to to King's Landing and the build-up to Rhaenyra's invasion, there's a clear tension in the air. Alicent visits both the commander of the Goldcloaks, also known as the City Watch, and the commander of the soldiers defending the city walls. She successfully persuades them both not to attack Rhaenyra when she arrives. Due to Alicent's anticipatory moves, however, enough people can sense something is up, and that the vibes are beginning to feel very off. Probably most suspicious of her are Kingsguard member Rickard Thorne and council member Jasper Wilde. In an incredibly disturbing scene, Jasper attempts to rape Alicent, seemingly as both punishment to her and as a way to have some sort of last fun before his inevitable death with the arrival of Rhaenyra. Thankfully, he's interrupted by an intrusion from Grand Maester Orwyle, accompanied by members of the Kingsguard. Though Orwyle rescued her and admits he doesn't know the full details of Alicent's plan, he expresses that he understands she's making some drastic moves. As Rhaenyra prepares to depart for King's Landing, she doesn't realize that the person she needs to kill most upon her arrival, Aegon, is MIA. In the last episode, we saw he and Larys captured by Black Faction soldiers planning to deliver him to Rhaenyra's hands at Dragonstone. However, in this episode, thanks to a convenient attack from rogue Triarchy soldiers, Larys and Aegon are able to escape their captivity. Despite Larys recommending otherwise, Aegon decides the two are going to travel to Rook's Rest, the castle where he was attacked and disfigured last season. Though he doesn't express this outright, we know that this was the last spot his downed dragon was known to be. Meanwhile, we see that his brother Aemon bought the bait and has made his way to Harrenhal. Seeing Vhagar fly ahead, Criston Cole gets a desperately needed spark of motivation, ordering his forces to head toward Harrenhal to join with Aemond. After burning the Black Faction soldiers left behind to a crisp with his dragon Vhagar, Aemond makes his way inside the cursed castle, where he mercilessly kills Shyman Strong and his sons, but not before taking a major wound from one of them. Collapsing on the ground in pain, he crawls his way over to the onlooking Alice Rivers and begs her to save him. With Aemon so weakened, and Alice seemingly the only other person left alive at the castle, it seems that he's now at her mercy. And now, it's time to circle back to the climax of the episode, Rhaenyra's taking of King's Landing. Just before her departure, Miss Zarya gives Rhaenyra her crown, urging her to remember who has been most loyal to her. On Dragonback, Rhaenyra and Daemon quickly arrive at the Red Keep. They find that, while having to fend off some stray attacks, they are faced with very little resistance. Alicent, to the best of her ability, had tried to keep up with her end of the deal, and her machinations had worked. Alicent, however, is desperately trying to escape in advance of Rhaenyra's taking of the city. Knowing that Rhaenyra won't let her and Helaena go free as planned since Aegon, a key part of their deal, is unaccounted for, Alicent uses the chaos of Rhaenyra's arrival to attempt to flee on foot with her daughter and granddaughter. Why they don't make a beeline for the dragon pit, get on Helena's dragon, and escape the city that way, I have no idea. Why Helaena didn't verbally push for a dragon either is also quite odd. It's such a glaring plot hole that I genuinely think there's a chance that the writers may have forgotten Helaena as a dragon rider, and that her dragon is still in the city. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra and Daemon make it through the castle pretty quickly, and finally, they arrive at the throne room, where they are ambushed by Green Faction soldiers who refuse to give up. Just when it seems like they're completely fucked, a group of Goldcloaks arrives. Thanks to both Alicent's persuasion of their leader, Luther Largent, and Luther's already existing friendship with and loyalty to Daemon, they yield to him and Rhaenyra, and oust the remaining Green Faction loyalist soldiers. Before sitting the throne, however, Rhaenyra demands that Aegon be brought to her immediately. After all, her rule isn't truly cemented until his usurper head rules. It's during Daemon's search of the castle and seizing of Orwyle that they realize Aegon has absconded. Though not by any fault of her own, Alicent did not live up to her end of the deal, and in turn, can't be allowed to leave as planned. Though Orwyle was a no member of the Green Council, he explains to Daemon that he had no other choice and pledges fealty to Rhaenyra. Though not fully convinced, Daemon is persuaded when Orwyle brings him to the dungeons where another prominent Green Council member, Jasper Wilde, is being held. When down there, however, the head jailer informs Daemon that Larys Strong left him with a gift for if/when he returned. Inside a dark cell, we finally get the answer as to who captured Otto last season and where he was being kept. Knowing Larys, who seemingly was a key Green Faction advisor, secretly did a favor for the Black Faction, definitely raises the question of where his true loyalties lie yet again. It's nice to see that, while waiting for Aegon to be brought to her, Rhaenyra's first order of business upon her taking of the city was to free anyone in prison just for being loyal to her. It shows that, though it doesn't seem to be the case sometimes, deep down, she still cares about her people. Well, at least the nobility. This process is interrupted, however, when Daemon brings up Otto from the Black Cells. Though Aegon is missing, he advises Rhaenyra that Otto can symbolically stand in Aegon's place. Rhaenyra needs to execute the architect of the war in front of everyone in order to cement her rule. Yet, Rhaenyra hesitates. Despite all of the awful, life-ruining things Otto has done to her and those she's loved, he's still the father of her best friend in love. Someone who has been around in her life since she was born. No matter how evil he is, he's still, in a way, family. Also fueling her hesitancy is the fact that, to our knowledge, she has never killed someone with her own hands before. All of this hesitancy leads her to fail at her first strike of Otto's neck, sending cringes and gasps across the hall. She succeeds on her second, however, and, in an amazing visual metaphor, steps through the pool of his blood to reach the throne. Still crying, she uncomfortably sits, fulfilling her life's mission at last. But at what cost? Just then, soldiers order the onlooking crowd to make way, and brought to her are Alicent and Helena, seemingly having failed to escape the city. Alicent looks down at her dead father, and then up to the crying Rhaenyra sitting on the throne. They share the most tragic of looks with each other, the Yuri becoming even more doomed. Overall, I found this episode to be absolutely incredible. God-tier acting, coupled with a pretty loyal adaptation of the book events, gave us such a memorable episode, a reminder of why this show is one of my favorites in the first place. It shows us that sometimes not deviating from George's masterful writing for seemingly no reason is the best way to go. It's pretty tragic that this episode is the second of season 3 in the first place. If you recall back to 2024, at the last minute, HBO forced the team behind the show to cut season 2 down from 10 episodes to 8. In turn, these past 2 episodes were actually intended to be episodes 9 and 10 of season 2, respectively, which makes a whole lot of sense from a writing and narrative structure perspective. It also means that the content intended for season 3 now has to be crammed into just 6 episodes, since this season will be 8 in total too. In other words, what was intended to be season 3 proper is actually starting next week. I wonder if releasing a between the seasons movie or special of some kind covering the events of these past 2 episodes would have been the way to go, giving the season proper more room to breathe. However, it's inarguable that these 2 episodes were an incredibly exciting season starter. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more House of the Dragon and A Song of Ice and Fire content of its nature, be sure to give this video a like and hit the subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week for season 3, episode 3.